Yo, what's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in the world. Shout out to the comment section. I always look there when I decide when to get into something new, whether it be a new artist or a specific album or song. Someone wanted me to check out more Black Thought, which I thought would be great, right? We love really intellectual lyrics. It doesn't get much more intellectual than Black Thought, right? This is Black Thought State Prisoner, so that caught my attention. Hopefully we can pass the copyright gods by still having the visual here, because shout out another person that said they'd like to see the visual sometimes. Some people like the lyrics, some like seeing the visual. We'll try to do the best of both worlds, but YouTube can get really finicky about having 100% of someone else's visual, so we'll see what we can do here. Let's get right to it. If you're a fan of breaking down these lyrics to someone like Black Thought, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, of course, to the station as well.
For our survival, from the revolutionaries to the conservatives, a Black United Front is what we're about.
Sick. Just stop. Yo, he just comes. Look at his. Shout out to the beard, rocking the beard. I see you, bro. Look what the shirt says, right? The GOAT, greatest of all time. He said we need each other. We have to have each other for our own survival. From the revolutionaries to the conservatives, like it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum. We need to have a Black United Front because that's how we're going to have real power, right? Real voice is by being united.
Of the changing of the guard, an angel from the Lord, and ceremonial guards, the main culprit large, the big homie in charge, emerged over the odds, the victorious odds, the talented Mr. Trotter, the midnight marauder, infants, blood, no water, no stopping the top, shotter, I drop bombs, multiple arms like candelabras on a mission, I'm chasing chicken like a chupacabra,
Puerto Rico.
I'm headed back to Wakanda after the drama, rappers get better back to the drama.
Yo.
To kill a lion separated from the pride. I rule Zion, I am the most hated one alive. A gun was fired, another one expired. I represent the unwanted, undesired. Wash my hands of it all, then raise one and testify. The never man I'm guilty but justified.
Yo, I'm guilty but I'm justified. Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Yo, state prisoner, I like this. But yo, let's get back to the lyrics, right? I like the visual.
After the drama, rappers get better back to the drama.
We can leave it right there. But he said, it's the making of the mob, right? The changing of the guard. Who's carrying that sword now, right? Who's in charge, right? There's a change in leadership. He said an angel from the Lord and ceremonial garb. The big homie in charge, right? Just big boy talk. Main culprit, like who's the culprit, right? Main culprit at large. He said he emerged from the odds, right? He stood out amongst the pack. The victory is ours. The talented Mr. Trotter, right? His real name is Tariq Trotter. The talented Mr. Trotter. He says a midnight marauder. And you might be asking, what exactly is a marauder, right? You could think of somebody who's raiding something, right? Or someone who raids. But it's also important to recognize that what he's referring to is Midnight Marauder is from a tribe called Quest, right? That's their third album. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that, but that's a tribe called Quest, right? That's old school hip hop from his generation. Remember, this cat is older than me. I was born in 1982, so this cat is probably born somewhere in the 70s, right? So he knows about the early stages of hip hop and some of his greats, right? Your favorite rappers are probably different. His top five is probably very different from your top five. Let's get right back to it. But listen to what he's saying, right? If there's blood in the water, there's no stopping the top shotta, right? When you think of blood being in the water, you think of like Jaws, right? You think of sharks. When there's blood in the water, it's like, oh no, you're gonna attract all the sharks. They're coming for you now, right? There's no stopping now. But he said, I drop bombs, multiple arms like candelabras on a mission. I don't know if you guys know what a candelabra is. Candelabras, I think of in the middle of a long table, like let's say a Hanukkah, right? It has multiple arms, and they're meant to hold several candles, right? You think of Hanukkah or Yeah, that's probably, I'm sure you know what I'm getting. I'm chasing chicken like Chupacabra. Chupacabra, shout out to Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans. Chupacabra is this mythological kind of urban legend. It's one that goes after your chickens. It supposedly looks all freakish and it's got like looks like a skinned cat, right? It's just, but it's like, and it's stealing all your, it's hitting the fields up, right? It's a nuisance, but it's also, it'll kill you, right? He says, salute your father, right? I'm back to Wakanda. Wakanda, we all know the reference, right? Wakanda forever, right? He said, after the drama, rappers get medevac to the trauma. When you get medevac, it's because the hospital that you're closest to isn't of the same caliber as a one that's further away that might specialize in what you need. So he's saying getting medevac to the trauma, there's probably a certain hospital that also has a trauma center. I would imagine that's just, he's sick, right? This is a true lyricist. He makes you think about what he's saying, and sometimes he wants to say something in a certain type of way just for you to picture the reference that he's going to jump back to. Just a truly talented man, just someone that I always feel bad when I hear his music because he's so talented. And yes, he is rich, but he's not as influential because he hasn't had a level of commercial success that we look at when we see like Nas or someone at that level. Now he has exposure and he has his definitely has his audience, but there's a lot of people of this newer generation that have no clue who Black Thought is. A lot of people, when they first heard the freestyle, were like, "Who are the Roots?" And it's like, right? Like, oh no, that's a swear word, bro. What you mean you don't know? You never heard that "coming to break you off," right? Or you don't know any of the history of the Roots or his man. This dude's got some classics, and it's just it's unfortunate, right? But let's get right back to it. He says to kill a lion separated from the pride. A pride is a pack of lions, but you can also think of the numbers, right? He's talking about a Black united front, and the power in numbers. If we weren't so broken up, and this is really all across the world. I was watching a YouTube video one day, and they were saying, you know, why that small little area of people have and want to maintain so much power? Because what they're really trying to hide is that they're the minority. And most all around the world, most people are, some form of brown, right? They're not everyone's just some pale face. What is that? The vampire thing. I can't put Twilight face, right? They're not all just pale faces. Most people around the world are some form of brown. And just think about if we had this unified whatever, right? A unified school, a unified way of thinking, a unified way of life, we would have not just political power, but really a power of around the world. If we united and wanted to live and treat the world a certain type of way, and had powers, and we really wanted a voice at the table, a seat at the table, think about how deadly that would be. And you think about why, when there's a person that's very influential, like Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X, but Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King Jr., Tupac, right? We talk about these leaders and why they were murdered or assassinated. And why are people, what's in it for them? Why would you want that? Because you don't want a unified front. If you had a Black unified front, it would be one of the most powerful committees or groups. If we all stood together and voiced our opinion and wanted to move but we're not doing that, right? And he said, "I rule Zion." For those of you that have ever listened to Black Thought, we did a few intellectual breakdowns. He references the Hebrew Bible, and Zion is what would you say? It's a synonym for Jerusalem, right? So you just have to understand those references if you listen to Black Thought. He said, I'm the most hated one alive. And I would argue the reason that he would be hated is because he's a Black person that's also an intellectual. And think about it, Black Thought, right? What does he represent? Why is it that they didn't want you to learn how to read? right? Do we know anything about our history? Think about that. Why would you want to dilute the history or change the narrative? It's almost like you're so fearful of what a powerful black person might do or say or think, or how they might revolutionize things and remove you from being a person of power, right? Because we change the definition of what that means, and how wealth is dispersed, and how wealth is balanced between areas of the world and people of the world, right? They don't want that. Think about how many people are at the top pulling strings and have so much of the wealth of this country, right? He says a gun was fired, another one expired, right? Or somebody just lost their life. Let's get to it.
Salute your father, I'm headed back to Wakanda after the drama. Rappers get better back to the drama. To kill a lion separated from the pride. I rule Zion, I am the most hated one alive. A gun was fired, another one expired. I represent the unwanted, undesired. Wash my hands of it all, then raise one and testify. The level manslaughter, I'm guilty but justified.
Wash my hands of it all, right? Then raise one and testify. Just a play on words with washing your hands. But you also wash your hands. It's like you're done with it, right? He said, I represent the unwanted, the undesired. And then he talks about to lyrical manslaughter. I'm guilty but justified, right? Almost like when you think about self-defense. You're not saying you didn't do it. You're saying I did it, but I was my decisions were justified, right? There was an imminent threat to my life, so the self-defense is a valid defense in the court of law, right? He said, I'm justified. Come on now, let's get back with it.
I started running the streets when I was 9. When I started running around at 9, I knew what I was going to do when I was 10.
Truth and tale, yeah, trust the vibe minister, fly sinister, Philly certified finisher, the prime minister, in God's image, the monument, the high minister, the problems acknowledging how to apply penance for the transgressions that I've accepted, and acquiescence of my own.
You just can't pass that up without breaking it down. This is exactly what, when Black Thought starts to go on a rant, this is what he does, right? He said it in God's image, the monument, the homage is to, right? He's talking about Philly. He's from Philly, right? The prime minister. But he said the problem is acknowledging how to apply penance. Now, penance can have, it could really have two different meanings, right? When I think of that, what is that, The Angels and Demons, or that movie with Tom Hanks where the dude's doing the self-inflicted wounds, right? Doing penance. That's the voluntary self-punishment. Right, like when it's an outward expression for having done wrong, right? So how are you showing that? How are you applying that? But it could also be a Christian sacrament, right? That's how most people would know it. It's like confessing your sins, right? I know that much. But he's saying the problem is acknowledging how to apply penance, right? How am I going to show that I've done wrong for the transgressions? When you think of transgressions, you're thinking of like a crime, right? You're going against the law, against the grain. You're being like a rebel. So he's like, the problem is acknowledging, how do I show this, that I'm a rebel, that I've accepted an acquiescence of my own presence. So he's saying, I've accepted this, right? Acquiescence means like a reluctantly. You're like silently accepted this. You're not disputing almost, right? He said the problem is acknowledging how to apply penance, right? It's like voluntary self-punishment. How do you express that you're doing wrong and you're doing this crime, right, for the crime, but I've reluctantly accepted this, or I haven't disputed this in my own presence? Man, that is deep. That is not just bachelor or undergrad level. That's almost like you're just having to be at more of that kind of master's level. And that's just, a lot of young cats aren't seeing that's I love Black Thought because of that, but I also wish that some things weren't as hidden And I say hidden, I mean like little gems, and they're not hidden in wordplay. They're hidden in limiting based on your vocabulary and your comprehension. So I think that's why a lot of young cats don't rock with Black Thought, because they're just like, yo, snap, yo. But they're getting such a small percent of what he's truly saying, right?
Don't get it, so stream it at your own discretion. Every answer question, investment in your own protection. They be like black.
Oh, I missed something, man.
For the transgressions that I've accepted, and acquiescence of my own presence as I inspected my loaded weapons, y'all just don't get it. So stream it at your own discretion. Every answer question, investment in your own protection. They be like black. Well, who knew we'd be receiving a new you? That's Mark Zulu and Farrakhan meets Pharaoh Khufu. Misinterpret my level of genius and call it cuckoo.
You know, have you guys ever heard of the Zulu Nation, right? They're really popular in hip-hop. Well, you know, what Africa Bambaataa and the start of hip-hop and the elements of hip-hop. And when you think of where did the Zulu Nation, where did he get these ideas from, right? Where did the Zulu name come from? All right, or think about Farrakhan, right? You know, Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam. Right? And he's talking about Pharaoh Khufu. Now, these are things, again, we're just talking about things that go over most people's heads.
But the Swahili meaning of freedom is still Uhuru.
Zulu Nation is right, it's I don't want to say tribe, but they're people in Africa, right? And supposedly they influence Africa Bambaataa, who's one of the figures that founded hip-hop. Well, he was also a gang leader back in New York, but he used his influence and this kind of structure from the gang unit, and he put together something called the Zulu Nation. You don't hear about it as much in hip-hop now, but basically he moved the community and started using his gang powers to kind of unify guys under the hip-hop umbrella. And he kind of established moving towards a positive direction, but he came up with the elements of hip-hop, and basically that comes from the Zulu Nation being like a hip-hop awareness group. So I'm sure that's who he's referring to rather than Zulu, you know, an African people. He's probably referring to the Zulu Nation, also meets Louis Farrakhan, right? The Nation of Islam meets Pharaoh Khufu. Pharaoh Khufu was responsible, if I'm not mistaken, for they built the pyramids of Giza during that time. That's one of the 7 wonders of the world, right? So he's saying you know, who knew we'd be receiving a new you? That's part Zulu. Farrakhan meets Pharaoh Khufu. Misinterpret my level of genius and call it cuckoo. All right? But the Swahili meaning of freedom is still Yuruhu. I didn't know. To the booth guru. A guru is somebody who is well versed in any one thing, right? You're a guru of this, of dating, right? And you're an expert at it, right? And he said he's an expert in this booth. I deliver the truth to you. Who got the nerve to act as if this isn't proof to you? That I will mobilize a militia, then troop to you, right? Look at the play on words with troop, militia, right? An army, but also troop to you, as it almost like I would step to you, right? Yo, that's just sick. I think I went a little bit ahead. I didn't understand the Swahili meaning. I'm glad he clarified that, because I would have no idea. But to say that this cat isn't just a lyrical genius and at the just expert level with rhyming is just, you gotta listen to the Funkmaster Flex freestyle. It's like, even with something like this, I don't think this is just off the top of the dome. But either way, it is just sick. The level of knowledge. Anytime I hear this guy spit, and he doesn't carry a cell phone, he's not looking at lyrics, he's just like, man, I've heard jokes that say the back of his lenses are just like screens, right? Feeding him bars. Because the amount of knowledge that this guy must have is just, like I say here, sick with it, right? It's just like showing you that, man, intelligence can be cool. And it is cool. Sick, greatest of all time. There's an argument for that. You could take away maybe not the commercial success from the sales perspective, but with influential, inspiring, right? Somebody who's behind the scenes, one of the greats. I think he took a different route but I think that was intentional, right? I don't think he chose to be. Um, I don't think he. I don't think he tried to be a commercial success and it didn't go his way. I think he removed himself from the spotlight and only puts out certain types of music and only works with certain types of groups.
That's Mark Zulu and Farrakhan meets Farrakhufu. Misinterpret my level of genius and call it cuckoo. But the Swahili meaning of freedom is still you hoo-hoo. To the woof movement, I deliver the truth to you. Who got the nerve to act as if this isn't proof to you that I will mobilize a militia and troop to you. No telling what I got in the system to shoot to you. If it's too brutal, look the other way like I'm robbing you. But surrender all your valuables as if I'm robbing you. As I slide the hassle to the side like a tassel of the facade of the place I reside. It's like a castle. I'm the honorable Pin Say Mar, my nom de gar. I'm the czar of Beijing to Paris. It's my kind of car. I'm the R, I'm the L, I'm the King. All correlated, unadulterated power. The king been coronated. Wake up, no masquerade. Remove the makeup.
Right? It's Coronation Day for all those that out there that got kids that think are Frozen, right? Or any other coming of age party for a queen or someone coming into royalty, right? Yo, there's so much here to break down. Where do we leave off? The booth guru who got the nerve to act, and then I will mobilize a troop, a militia, right, and troop to you. No telling what I got in the system to shoot through you, right? But listen to what he's saying, right? If you're shooting through something, you're using a different caliber, right? A different caliber bullet is going to penetrate different, a person differently, or the bullet might not stop, right? Or the bullet can penetrate a vest or a tank or whatnot. So he's saying, if it's too brutal, that he's basically saying that look the other way, right? And don't F with it. Like I'm bribing you, right? You say, yo, how much is it going to cost if we just, right? You look the other way when I put this envelope of little cash money on the table, right? They slide the envelope away and we know that it's a deal. You're known to look the other way. Or like in a sport, when someone falls on a fight, right? The ref might look the other way. He missed something that was important. But he said, yo, surrender all your valuables though, right? Yo, sick. As I slide the hassle to the side like a tassel. He said, like, I slide the hassle, the people bothering me, right? Like, they miss me with the bullshit, bro. But he slides it like a tassel. When you flip and you graduate from college or high school, whatever it might be, you're supposed to move the tassel from one side to the other. You might have even take your cap and, throw it into the, yeah, I did it, right? I finished 8th grade and now I'm in the working world, right? Or I finished high school. Right? Nowadays, you almost have to tell your kids, I tell my kids, like, it's just a continuation of your education. There's no question of what you do after college. After high school, but you have to do college at a minimum. I expect that of you because I know that it's very hard to make moves in this world and people to value your input without the degree. It's hard to open doors without the degree. Let's get right back to it here. Let's get back to what he's saying. He said you could say the facade of the place I reside, but he's saying like that's basically the front of the place that I reside is like a castle, right? That's just big boy talk. We'll run this back to make sure we're not missing anything. But when he says, where do we leave off? The building, right? The place I reside is like a castle. He said, I'm the Honorable Pense Noir, right? He's speaking French. And if you were to do the literal translation to French, that literally means black and then thought, right? His name, Black Thought. But he's saying, I'm the Honorable Black Thought. He's saying, my nom de guerre. He's saying, that's my, it's a warrior name. I'm the Tsar, right? And you think of a Tsar, you think of it's someone being appointed by the government to handle a process normally, or oversee a process. He says the Peking to Paris is my kind of car. So he's talking about he's a warrior, he's a Tsar. The Peking to Paris is one of the longest races in the world. I don't know if they still do it, but it's like over 9,000 miles, and it goes all across the world. So I think he's saying like the Peking to Paris. It's my kind of car. Like I'm worldwide, baby. The funny thing is, the Peking to Paris, it came about in the early 1900s, I believe. There was actually a French newspaper. They put out a calling. They basically it was 1907 actually, and they said, what needs to be proved today is that as long as man has a car, he can do anything and go anywhere. Is there anyone who will undertake to travel this summer from Paris to Peking on automobile? And that's where they came up with the name, from Peking to Paris. And that's like that what was known. I'm sure they probably have something now that's even bigger, even better. Kind of like I think of Cars. So not Cars 1 or Cars 2. Or maybe about in Cars 2 when they're doing that like worldwide race. But even then, I don't think it was worldwide. Let's get back to it. I don't know what he's saying. I'm the R, I'm the L. Like I'm the right, I'm the left. I don't know what he's saying. I'm the Cain. All correlated, unadulterated power. The king been coronated, right? He's been crowned. Wake up. No masquerade. Remove the makeup. A masquerade is the long version of saying like a mask, right? Like you think of a masquerade ball where you have to wear like those New Orleans style things. So it's no sleep, but my eyes refuse to stay shut. It's gatekeepers' responsibility for this place. But historically, the authority's been morally bankrupt. Bro, just to read it, thankfully we have the lyrics, because Black Thought is one of those people, he can be so hard to understand, because, and this isn't even, he's not even flowing in a way where he could just, listen to his freestyle, right? We did an intellectual breakdown of the lyrics. He says so much. Let's get right back to it.
All your valuables as if I'm robbing you as I slide. The hassle to the side, like a tassel up the side of the place I reside. It's like a castle, I'm the honorable Pin St. Mar, my nom de guard, I'm the czar. A Beijing to Paris is my kind of car. I'm the R, I'm the L, I'm the King. All correlated, unadulterated power, the king. Been coronated, wake up, no masquerade, remove the makeup. It's no sleep and my eyes refuse to stay shut. It's gatekeepers responsible for this place, but historically the authorities been morally bankrupt. Into the executioner, speaking of retribution, I send shots to Lucifer even to catch the future. Me and the best producers out again, on route again, airborne audio spores. It's like an allergy zone.
When you think of, it says, enter the executioner. Speaking of retribution, I'll send shots to Lucifer even to catch the future. Now, Lucifer is another way to say the devil, right? And then he says, me and the best producers out again, en route again, right? Heading there. Airborne spores you normally think of as like, think of like an airborne sickness of some sort in the spores. Spores are like, you might get, if you're allergic to something, it's like you're not allergic to the cat, right? You're allergic to the cat, the dander, right? It's an allergen. But he's saying that airborne audio spores, it's like an allergen. So, like his stuff is viral, I guess what he's saying, or it's, right? So in conclusion, I want to clear the confusion. Any rappers, the artists you're currently hearing is human. Like, I'm not human. I'm a shapeshifter, right? Like Maui, Maui face, Moana, right? The shapeshifter, weightlifter, I hate Hitler. I'm the great victor behind the bars, state prisoner. Ooh! I guess I'm just a few seconds from the ending. I didn't realize that, but I want to run it back and let him finish.
Lucifer even to catch the future. Me and the best producers out again, on route again. Airborne audio spores. It's like an allergen. So, in conclusion, I want to clear the confusion. Any rumors the artist you're currently hearing is human. The shapeshifter, weightlifter. I hate Hitler. I'm the great victor behind the bars, state prison.
Ooh, that's we already knew he was sick with it, right? But just to go back and I'm a fan of Black Thought, but I'm not really too deep in his catalog, right? I know some of his commercial hits with the Roots. I recognize him, but when I heard that freestyle flow, I was like, this brother is next level, and I got kind of upset with myself that I didn't really go back through his catalog. So, yeah, someone in the comments mentioned doing some more Black Thought. It takes quite a bit of time to do, though, right? Because there's a lot of references. But, to really appreciate his music, you really have to break it down bar by bar. He's just one of the illest with the wordplay, so I'm glad we did that. Again, that's Black Thought State Prisoner. If you're a fan of the intellectual lyrics and the breakdown and people that are bringing something positive to the community, to the culture, man, don't forget to like the video, but also subscribe to the page, right? To the channel. We're checking out different artists. We go through their catalog. We break down their lyrics, and let's do it together.